This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. It's Monday, October 16th, 2023, and Aroldis Chapman is still playoff meltdown free. Can that last all the way to the World Series? Probably not. But a big Game 1 win for the Rangers last night against the Astros had a ton of Yankees implications, and not just for the hater in all of us that wants to see Houston go down and Jose Altuve miss second base while trying to back tag to first. Jordan Montgomery started the game. Of course he did. That's his first career playoff start in Houston against the Astros. Never got one with the Yankees. Probably not great that he never got one with the Yankees considering how dominant he was yesterday. He struck out Jordan Alvarez 3 times. Made Jordan Alvarez look so bad that Jordan Alvarez claimed to be sick with a stomach issue. Conveniently, that came out after he struck out thrice against Monty. But the rumors began earlier yesterday connecting him to a Yankees reunion. If that was the plan all along, not so bad, but we'll talk about the pros and cons. Plus, Juan Soto trade buzz, how the Yankees could welcome back a former teammate to facilitate that deal. And if that is true, that's a sad indictment on how much money the Padres are trying to save. We'll talk Aroldis. Wish we didn't have to, but we will. And the Marlins just put a Brian Cashman replacement on the market. So why is Brian Cashman still going to be the GM of this team, and why is she about to go to the Red Sox? Yep, she. So you already know who it is. Thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review if you have the chance. Please subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of great content up lately. If you have not listened to or watched the Jabba Chamberlain interview we put out last week, recommend doing so. Jabba is as real as it gets. He went 45 minutes deep and raw on his time with the Yankees, the current team, what they need to fix and what they need to keep the same, how they should attack this offseason. Though, like he said, it is a coin flip. But listen to him. Let us know your thoughts. Chime in the comments. A lot of you have already been checking out that video. YouTube helpful enough to give us view metrics, so I know that people are watching. That's what views mean. But please come back if you haven't yet. Watch that after you watch this. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. As always, you're going to kick us off with an offer from Bet365.
You betcha. Yankees fans, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in today. We're happy to have you. Bet365 upping the ante here. They have this promotion going for the MLB playoffs. New users who register with a Bet365 account, use our code YGY Betting, are now eligible to receive $365 in bonus bets. Very simple. All you have to do is deposit $10, place a $1 wager on any game. Once you place that first bet, you will instantly receive that $365 in bonus bets. Whether you win or lose, just make sure to use the code again, YGY Betting, when you sign up. By using the code, you have access to that bonus bet promotion, but you'll also directly be supporting us, your friends, guys who have fun talking about the Yankees, giving you all the offseason info and insight to everything. So please cash in on this offer. It helps us. It helps you. Why not? If you have not yet signed up for Bet365, please, once again, join with the code YGY Betting and place that first bet. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and older and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. I got an offer for you guys. Pulled an Oswald Peraza rookie auto this weekend. And
inappropriate. This is inappropriate behavior. This is not how the podcast is supposed to be.
$1 million, whoever wants it.
That's thanks to the relationship with Bet365. That card would, of course, be well over $1 million anywhere else. But here, if you do sign up with our official offer code, we can also throw in this rapidly declining in value Oswald Peraza card for a clean $1 million.
You know what I noticed? He doesn't have the inappropriate signature on this one. Remember?
No, but he did put it right where that would be.
He did.
If he was still drawing
what is wrong with this guy?
What appeared to be a dick and balls on one of his other cards. If you haven't seen it, please look that up. We wrote about it, so y'all know what we're talking about. If you check out our content, give us a click. We're not that desperate for clicks, but you know, if you want to click it, you can. The ALCS is underway, and that means I guess we're connecting all available free agents to the New York Yankees.
Please.
It's tough. It's tough times in Yankee land. Somebody commented on our video last week. Please focus more on the teams that are in the playoffs instead of the Yankees who missed it. This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast, so we are we're gonna keep focusing on the New York Yankees. I think I appreciate the tip for sure. Like, I was interested. I read it all the way to the end, and then I was like, nah, probably gonna still talk about the Yankees. But everybody else is talking about the Yankees too. It's not just us. Chris Kirschner, Cuddy, it's their job to answer mailbag questions. And all Yankee fans want to know is, how are we getting better? Who are we getting? What are we doing? What are we adding to this? Because how many new leaves did we really turn over last year? That's the worst part about the season. The Red Sox had a bad season, even though the fans showed up to spring training, which is crazy. But they still had a bad season. But in that bad Red Sox season, Tristan Casas broke out, one of the best first basemen in baseball. Brian Bayo struggled at the end of the year, but he kind of looks like a homegrown number 2 or number 3 starter. They lost a bunch of money off the books. Justin Turner knocked in every runner from third with less than 2 outs possible. Adam Duvall emerged as a great free agent signing, and maybe you go back to that well and sign him again. They had a number of things that worked. As a team, they were not very good. But a Red Sox fan can leave that season being like, our farm system's better, a couple guys on the roster worked out, we can hit. Yoshida's a nice piece. Maybe we work on his training. What do you leave this Yankee season thinking about? You're like, Anthony Volpe was good in August. And Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. And Clark Schmidt could be sold high, and Michael King could be sold high, or they could be a nice 4-5 or 5-6 next year. Weird year. Not a lot of things went right. So that's why everybody in the mailbags, people asking questions, are like, who can we get? Who's available? We've talked about it plenty. Most people are not available. You are going to have to pull off some trades this offseason, and big ones, if you want a quick fix. But for the first time in a long time, outside of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who we know Brian Cashman loves, who we know Brian Cashman went to Japan to check out, and who we know Steve Cohen also loves, that's going to be a bidding war. We know the Yankees are interested, but we know they're going to have to spend up to get him, and somebody might outbid them. That's all we know. But it was nice to be connected to another name this weekend by Bob Nightingale, of course. Take it with whatever grain of salt you want to. But he said the Yankees and the Cardinals, the two most recent former teams of Jordan Montgomery, will both be after him for a reunion this winter. And Montgomery, we thought we knew what he was in New York. He went elsewhere, learned a different emphasis, figured out his pitch mix, worked with Mike Maddox, worked with people who understood his arsenal better, did not de-emphasize the fastball, got him to play up that curveball, and he shut the Astros out last night in game 1 of the CS.
Fuck yeah.
Owned Yordan Alvarez. Like, beat the Astros for sure, but put Alvarez to sleep. Trevor Plouffe tweeted the MLB.com graphics of where all the balls he fed Yordan Alvarez were. It was 94, 95 at the top of the zone, curveball low and away out of the zone. He never went middle, ever, even by accident, even once. Alvarez did not get a single pitch to hit in 3 at-bats, which is why he did not hit him. Picture perfect job by Montgomery. So he's due for a $100 million contract this offseason. It is just the Yankees' money. For me, if this was their plan all along, like if it was the opposite of what we thought, where we thought it was like, we don't envision him being a part of this playoff rotation, we're not going to extend him, let's roll the dice with Harrison Bader. I think that was the plan. I do not think they let him go just to welcome him back again someday after he learned some new tricks. But they could execute a very different version of their original plan, where he is now Andy Pettitte. Took his little respite on another roster, went to Texas for whatever reason, found a new gear, and now comes back because it's just money after all. They would have cost themselves some money based on extending him before ever sending him to St. Louis versus signing him in free agency. But ultimately, the end goal would be the same, and he would have learned more this way. So I guess along with the same caveat I've given every proposed Yankees move for the last 5 years, if they don't let it hinder them from spending elsewhere, I'm all for it. Pay them whatever it takes. That's unfortunately not how they usually behave.
I don't like this just for the obvious reasons. This was not part of their plan. They blindside traded him.
Yeah.
They clearly compromised the relationship. If this was something that was a look-ahead strategy move, they would have had a conversation with Jordan Montgomery, and they would have talked about moving him at the deadline. They would have talked about their plans for 2020, the 2022 postseason and the 2023 regular season, and they would have been adults about it. They wouldn't have been cowards. To me, that was a very cowardly move, especially because I don't think it was something that materialized at the buzzer. I think the Cardinals were always looking for pitching. I think the Yankees were always looking for an outfielder. And this wasn't a deal that came up where it was like, oh my God, you absolutely have to trade a starting pitcher if this is the return you're getting. It wasn't one of those things where like Jordan Montgomery was thrown into a Juan Soto deal at the last second because the Padres demanded one more asset and the Yankees needed to outbid somebody. This was a straight up 1-for-1 trade for a man in a walking boot. And then he was insulted on his way out the door. I think it would be dumb, in fact, if the Yankees re-signed Jordan Montgomery, because once again, they would be overpaying for something that they don't necessarily need to, or they'd be putting themselves in the situation where they already had the chance to make this happen and to make it work. They didn't. Somebody else made it work, and now they're going to pay the money for somebody else making it work. I like Jordan Montgomery. I wish he was on the team still. I wish they had worked out some sort of mutually beneficial extension where the Yankees wouldn't get financially hamstrung and he got the security that he desired. But I think he's playing himself out of whatever the Yankees would be preparing themselves for, especially in an offseason where they kind of need to nail it. I'm not saying that Montgomery isn't the signing to nail it, but I think you have Yamamoto, who's a better prospect and long-term investment at this point. I think you have, if you wanted to go in that direction, Blake Snell. I know he's largely been a little bit inconsistent with his availability and his performance, but clearly put it all together in San Diego in what was a very toxic situation this year, and he's going to win the NL Cy Young. I think you got to look at Aaron Nola. Good in the postseason, played for a contender, for the last 2-3 years, and has clearly been able to handle the moment, something a lot of Yankees players have not. And would you look at that? Montgomery not throwing a single strike to Jordan Alvarez. The Yankees teach the exact opposite of that. Every time Rafael Devers is in the box, Garrett Cole is going 96 right in the top part of the zone, and he's destroying it. Every other hitter that kills them, the pitchers are not instructed to ever throw around them. So it's crazy that the Yankees practices differ from so many other teams' practices. And the way that we've seen Jordan Montgomery flourish, not under the Yankees tutelage, I think just speaks volumes into how their processes are incorrect, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the information that the coaching is receiving from the front office, whether it's the information the analytics department is giving to the front office to relay to the dugout. I don't know what it is, but you're seeing all these players, specifically someone like Montgomery, who was kind of a borderline talent. You weren't sure if he would. We always kind of talked about how his ceiling seemed to be a number 3 starter.
I always thought, he's someone people disagree with, like, oh man, you should never pull a starter before they actually get into trouble. You should never preemptively pull a starter. But he was a guy who always would be soft tossing his way through 4 or 5 innings. And I would be totally cool with Aaron Boone yanking him at 84 pitches. It's like, I'm good. But then, of course, they told him to pitch away from his fastball. Everybody else told him to emphasize it. Now he's got this death ball, and it helps his curveball play up.
Yeah, and I just don't think that. I think they should use this as a learning experience rather than light bulb going off. We figured it out. You need to use Jordan Montgomery leaving and succeeding at literally in spite of you. The manner in which he has delivered. He kept the Rangers in the playoff race. I think that many of us might be forgetting about. He had a tremendous final 2 months of the season, particularly his last 6 outings when the Rangers were dealing with a ton of injuries. And a lot of his outings kept them in games, or at least kept them competitive to the point where, they were able to sustain morale and keep the momentum going. The Yankees just need to use Jordan Montgomery's exact scenario as a lesson that they need to change their practices. They need to instill different philosophies. They need to be a little bit more open-minded because he is not the only one. You look at Sonny Gray. I know that predates the current Yankees regime, but how do you have somebody who was so bad with you and then goes somewhere else and another team just is like, yeah, why don't you throw this pitch a little bit more? It might be better. And then all of a sudden you're a Cy Young candidate. I think it always goes back in these conversations. It's so frustrating. It just always goes back to, it seems like the Yankees think they know better than everybody. They think they're the smartest people in the room and they don't budge on anything. I feel like they don't take any player input. think our interview with Jabba kind of fortified that belief in that what many fans have. It seems like the most important players, or at least the subjects in question, are not ever taken into account, or they're never consulted on these types of things. And Montgomery was in New York long enough, I think, to probably have voiced his concern over his efficiency in general. Look how efficient he is. Every outing that he had with the Yankees felt so laborious. It felt like he was working so hard for so little results. And last night, he's more efficient than Justin Verlander, who's like famously one of the most efficient pitchers in modern MLB history. So this is a Yankees lesson to be learned and nothing else. I will not be disappointed if they re-sign Jordan Montgomery and overpay for him. I won't. I'm speaking from a perspective where you got to move on. You have to learn from this, and you have to get better and have perhaps a better known commodity. And I think there are a couple other options out there that would allow them to do that. Unless they wanted to get 3 starting pitchers and money isn't an object, then awesome. But we know they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I would much rather roll the dice with Yamamoto than go get Jordan Montgomery, who's again much loved, but is probably peaking right now.
Yes.
I don't know how much longer he can do this, and it's right before free agency, so fantastic. It's a classic case of somebody unlocking something deep within them that plays really well as they turn 31 and 32, and then maybe not so much when they're in year 3 of this deal at 35. But weirdness in the discourse too, people sort of saying during the Montgomery start, like, oh man, Yankee fans are killing themselves over this. Like, Yankee fans supposed to be roasting Brian Cashman alive. Do you think we like the Astros? Like, the Yankees were not a Jordan Montgomery away from being World Series contenders in 2023. It's an example of Brian Cashman flopping. It's certainly an example of Brian Cashman judging talent poorly. Although the Harrison Bader edition worked out pretty well in 2022 and in the postseason, when I would have rather had him than Jordan Montgomery. So all this revisionist history is about how 2023 didn't go so great. But then again, there are 50 reasons why 2023 didn't go so great.
Yeah.
And since we're here anyway, and the Yankees aren't, let me be the first to say congratulations to Jordan Montgomery on laying the Astros to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to Aroldis Chapman, who I don't want to see involved in the proceedings at all, but was, and he looked great yesterday too. We're rooting for the Rangers. When I see Jordan Montgomery destroy the Astros lineup, the first thought in my head is not Brian Cashman made a mistake. I'm over that. I'm thinking about how the Houston Astros are one step closer to losing in the ALCS.
I'm proud.
I don't know if that's how you feel. Like, congratulations, Jordan Montgomery never did anything wrong. I don't I regret letting him go ultimately, but I don't begrudge any, congratulations on the improvement. And you're doing it to a team I despise. So this does not even, mixed feelings is not even a way to categorize this. This is just pure happiness.
Yeah, how long are you going to hold a grudge for? Unless the situation was Montgomery kicking our ass in the playoffs and being a direct result of us being eliminated, or us letting Montgomery go, him somehow stumbling ass backwards into a Red Sox uniform and then managing to make us regret that move till the day we die. Like, these other ones, these Cashman, look, we're not proud of the Cashman gaffes, but I think it does validate a lot of our frustration. So in a sense, like, this is kind of the best case scenario, in my opinion. Yeah. You have a very, very well-documented, well-known scenario where your GM completely screwed up for the entire world to see. It's reached a point where this is going to be a topic of conversation potentially through the World Series with the way the Rangers are playing. Rooting for them to go to the World Series. I am feeling maybe them Phillies. That's kind of what I was feeling when the DS started. I don't know why. But the conversation's not going away. So I like that that's potentially being that not potentially, it is being exposed. People are realizing what's going on. And secondly, like, it has no effect on us.
None.
Nothing is happening bad. We're watching a former player that we liked for the most part, had no issue with at the very least. If you had an issue with Jordan Montgomery, I don't know what your fandom is.
I didn't like when he would start at Fenway because it would be laborious, like you said, and the wall is not his friend, but I certainly had nothing against the guy.
Yeah, you're not sitting there cursing Jordan Montgomery before you go to sleep. Like, Jordan Montgomery it was like, great. Some frustrating outings, sure, but you're watching a former player that you generally liked now beat up on a rival that you despise and will despise until the team is disbanded. So if he plays a role in, I guess, derailing the Astros' current run of form, I view that as a total positive. There's no reason to be angry with this. It's fun to watch. Honestly, I like watching former Yankees again, unless they're completely battering us and making us look like fools.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you tip your cap. You know that the Yankees developed this person. They have the capability to potentially do that more with a lot of other promising pitching prospects that are coming up the ranks. And all you can do is hope for a change in practices, hope for a little bit more open-mindedness with some of these situations. Because I think at this point, for someone like Montgomery, we know it's not the spotlight. We know it's not the pressure of New York because he's pitching in the ALDS. He's pitching in the AL wildcard game against the second best team in the American League. The Rays ended up the second best team
on their awful turf in the worst place in baseball.
Very, very tough place to play just because of how sad it is to play there.
Yeah.
He got the job done. Then you're in the DS against the best team in the AL. I know he didn't particularly do well there, but he did enough to help his team win in that game. And now you're in the CS against a team that has been to the CS 7 years straight, has been to 3 World Series or 4 World Series. This is, now every game's nationally televised. He's on the road for all of these games. Every single game he's pitched on the road. So the pressure here, the New York, I'm not buying the New York media getting to him or the escalated spotlight getting to him. He's clearly able to handle that. This is a lesson to be learned for the Yankees, because he is managing to find the success with different coaches in a similar high pressure environment. And he's thriving on it. And I think the Yankees actually played a role in helping him thrive on it, because they've given him a reason to prove something because of what was said when he was walked out the door and the manner in which all that went down. But happy for him. How can you not be happy for an athlete who's managing to hit his peak in a contract year on the biggest stage? I think you'd be a total Grinch if you're feeling the opposite way.
Yeah, it's the manufacturing the chip on his shoulder for a full year. It's a 1.5 year long version of the attaboy Harper. Like, he's been doing it since the Yankees got rid of him. Other people told him what he wanted to hear, and it turned out both of those parties were right and the Yankees were not. That said, I still can't shake Astros in 6. The bile that comes into my throat whenever the Astros are prominently involved, it just feels so inevitable. They win so many decisive postseason games 3-2, despite having such a great offense, where the bullpen just does not give the other team even a chance. They don't blink when they have a chance to close out a series or win a pivot point game. And the two things I can't shake in this series are Max Scherzer starting game 3, which feels like a hardo rushed himself back, meltdown mode opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Scherzer in 2021 with the Dodgers did this. Scherzer with the Mets last year did this. I cannot shake the fact that there's going to be egg on the Rangers' faces for starting Max Scherzer in game 3. And it's Scherzer's fault. It's not the Rangers' fault. So we'll see if they can overcome it. The other one is this asshole. And I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks since the Astros were a guaranteed wild card. They were like locked into the wild card. And an unbelievable circumstance, like 20 circumstances piled on top of each other, had to happen to give them the bye in the AL West. But of course, they all happened. Even the eliminated Mariners beat the Rangers 1-0 on the last day of the season. George Kirby threw a knuckleball. They were messing around and won and gave the Astros the bye. And since then, it's just felt inevitable to me that I can't bet against them until they give me a reason to. I'm glad the Rangers won game 1. The series is not over. I am glad the Rangers won game 1. I am glad Aroldis Chapman survived game 1, I guess. But I cannot believe that they have made him a part of the ALCS against the Astros again. Like, how does God drop him here? How does God drop him here? Take a little eyedropper and put him in the place where he ends up doing the most potential damage to my mental health, even when he's not on the New York Yankees. I just read Brian Hoke's book, 62, about it details last season, and it focuses for about a page and a half on the mechanics of Chapman skipping that postseason workout and just staying in Miami. And Brian Cashman does not mince words in that book. He's like, we felt like he's been checked out for a while. You know, people were saying we perceived that he was checked out, but we couldn't really act on it. He didn't give us a reason to, and then he did. So that's not someone who deserves good things. And that's not the only thing he has done in his personal life that indicates he does not deserve good things. But there he was yesterday in his favorite stadium, Enron Field. And yes, the real ones still call it that. He comes in with a runner on first and nobody out. Bruce Bochy, mistake number one, do not give him an inherited runner, but I get it. Runner on first, nobody out, facing basically the heart of the Astros order. Altuve's on first. Astros fans are cheering him because they know what's up. It's like when Red Sox fans cheered Mariano Rivera at the ring ceremony in 2005. They were like, your fuck up did this for us. We're raising a banner because you fucked up. Same deal. The Astros are silent for 7 innings. They're licking their lips because they're like, we literally own this man. And Alex Bregman waits on a pitch and deposits it 380 feet towards the stupid fake green monster where all you have to do is get some exit velo on it, poke it in the air, and it'll go. But Aroldis Chapman gets the luck last night that he never had during his time with the Yankees.
Crazy.
Fly ball goes into the corner, not into the Crawford boxes. Evan Carter makes an incredible leaping catch. And Jose Altuve, they say he didn't like to get the bang. He hated the bangs. Maybe he could have used the bang last night to let him know to touch second base. Maybe he does need the dugout to clue him in on the rules of baseball because he just totally forgot. Just took a step in the wrong direction, then ran across the field like a little leaguer learning the intricacies of the sport and was doubled off. I tweeted before that play happened that if Chapman gets out of that inning unscathed and Rangers win, I will legally change my name. That's how sure I was that he was about to fall apart. I still think he's got a meltdown left in him.
Oh,
I guess it wasn't game one. I guess it wasn't game one.
No, they let the Jordan Montgomery Sterling outing be protected, the baseball gods. Chapman's, did you see these stats? Chapman's career at Minute Maid Park.
It was like a 7+ ERA, right?
7.53 ERA. This is 14 and a third innings pitch. 7.53 ERA, 32 strikeouts to 11 walks. Opponent's average with runners in scoring position, 308. Opponent's OPS with runners in scoring position, 1.015.
Cool. He ended game 2 with a CS in 2017 too. We all focus on, there are so many, hey, pick your favorite Aroldis Chapman playoff meltdown. But don't forget that the series where the Yankees ended up sweeping the home slate and being 1 win away from the World Series and tantalizingly never getting it, Aroldis Chapman got walked off too, and Gary Sanchez couldn't handle a
Sonny Gray game
for some reason. No, Sonny Gray pitched game 4 and he was good. I actually don't remember who pitched. It was just the Yankees were non-competitive at the plate, and so I never thought they were going to win, and then they didn't. But
you would like the best closer in the league to not do that. That's why
to not do that. That would be the goal is to survive to extra innings, and he was like, "I'd rather not. I don't want to do that."
Yeah, this was a Verlander.
4 innings of Sevy, 2 of Canely, 2 of Robertson, and then an excellent third of an inning with 2 hits and a run allowed from Aroldis Chapman, just in the blink of an eye.
Jesus. Yep. Yeah, that was Sevy. I remember that. 4 innings.
Verlander complete game, of course. Again,
13 Ks.
Yeah, just complete domination.
Was that the one where Todd Frazier just had his
No, that was game 6.
life
He did it again. He did it again.
Yeah. It would have been nice to get one. I mean, we didn't deserve the stroke of luck with Chapman because I think, again, another thing the Yankees did, they put themselves in a precarious cosmic situation by purposely buying low on Aroldis Chapman because he was being suspended for a domestic violence violation of the league policy, and that's how they acquired him. Crazy how that book says he was checked out. It was specifically 2022 that he was checked out.
That's what he insinuated, but they said for a while. So I mean, last year was the year when he left the team to get a tattoo and got it infected. Like a lot of dumb shit happened.
I wonder how long it went on for because they had the out in 2019 to just say fuck it after he blew. Obviously he blew that one game in the 2017 CS that we were just talking about. 2019 was the most recognizable reliever choke job and
his masterpiece.
The last 10 years.
2020 was good too, but 2019 was the masterpiece.
Yeah. So they had this out. So I wonder if he was checked out a little bit. I wonder if 2019 began the checkout situation for him because of how difficult that was, all the the vitriol that he was catching. So I don't know, but not enjoyable to watch. I don't like the way and it's frustrating too because he blows in the DS. He blows 101, 102 mile an hour fastball by Ryan Mountcastle after getting in that gigantic jam against the Orioles. Very unpleasant player to watch. I advise Rangers fans to hold on to their butts every time that he's on the mound for the remainder of this playoffs, because if he hasn't melted down once yet, we can assure you one's coming, and it's going to be a particularly unsavory one too.
If we could just get him to the World Series against the Phillies before the meltdown, that would be great. Because I don't think he's going to love Citizens Bank Park if he gets there. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
A lot of guys with non-infected tattoos there who would love to tell us. And a couple infected ones too who fight through it, I guess, because, really tough. So far, enjoyable game one of the ALCS. We're not a part of it, but we also kind of are. Let's talk Juan Soto. I just want to. I get to dictate. I want to talk about it until he's somewhere else. So, right now, let's talk about the Yankees and Juan Soto. Again, he showed up in the mailbag. The Athletic talked about it this week. Because you got to talk about it because it's the most obvious. Like, if you don't like Cody Bellinger, if you don't want to pay $200 million to a guy who was non-tendered last year and had low exit velocities this offseason and maybe is poised to do an unbounce back and reverse his own, progress, and who hasn't done that in pinstripes for the last several years, then the offensive firepower that you're looking for is Juan Soto. The Padres are in money-saving mode. It seems extremely unlikely they'll extend him, which means that there's a chance that you could trade for him and then just play out the year if you don't want to make a big old free agent expenditure. You should want to, but you don't have to if you get Juan Soto. You could actually just trade for a season of Juan Soto. The Padres surrendered a ton to get him. 2.5 years of him, though. This is one. So, again, full disclaimer, this trade package, if somebody does it, whether it's us or somebody else, it's going to seem small. You're going to be like, that's it for Juan Soto.
Yeah.
And you're either going to be overjoyed because the Yankees did it or pissed because somebody else did. The Padres want to save money so badly, apparently, that we talked about Jake Cronenworth's contract being something the Yankees could take on to lessen the prospect package they'd have to give up even further. But Jake Cronenworth is a first base, second base, third base in the DJ LeMahieu mold, multi-time All-Star. But last year he was bad. He's entering like he's in his 30s. He's locked down through 2031. So if you didn't like 29-year-old Jake Cronenworth being worth one WAR with a 92 OPS plus and a 689 OPS last year and 229 average, then you're not going to enjoy absorbing the 7-year, $80 million extension, which is even more expensive than the Aaron Hicks deal for Cronenworth from 24 to 30, which is what people have suggested. But they also suggested that if the Yankees want to be nice and try to get the Padres to prefer their offer, they could also offer to take on Matt Carpenter's $5.5 million for next year. Now, Matt Carpenter was not good last year at all and probably would not provide much to the 2024 Yankees. But are the Padres really in money-saving mode to the point where the Yankees taking on a 1-year commitment that's probably not going to work would be enough to tip the scales and maybe reduce the prospect package? If so, do that.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. I think that is a reach on, the assessment here. I think that if anything, you would have to eat at least 2 of those contracts. So maybe Matt Carpenter and then Baseball Reference. Something's up with Baseball Reference. You notice this? I search their payroll specs all the time. They have the best payroll layout to me. You get to see contracts like up for 10 years. You go search for Baseball Reference payroll and it brings you to the actual just team reference page for every team. So now I have to use Spot Track and it doesn't show you anything beyond next year, but you got Nick Martinez with a team club. He has a team mutual option. Michael Wacha has a team mutual option. Seth Lugo has a player team. I don't know what the hell they did this offseason.
I think Seth Lugo, is probably going to cash in because he was actually good this year.
Or Wacha, because Wacha was injured for half the season and he might want to I think it's like 16 million. Yeah, it's 16 million bucks. So like if you're sitting there and you're the Yankees and you can get yourself maybe another starter, and I know there's an injury risk here, but again, you're going to have to pay to get Juan Soto. And if they're truly hell-bent on clearing salary, like also in my opinion, I do like the Cronenworth theory. I think there's some validity to it, but his AAV is like 11 million from now until the end of the contract. I just don't think that that's anything the Padres are viewing as like some sort of financial burden. I know they have a lot of weird deals on, this Xander Bogaerts contract is problematic. The Fernando Tatis contract is problematic. The Darvish extension is problematic. I think the only wins they have here are Machado and Musgrove, but you're going to have to do a little bit more than surrender a bunch of prospects and eat $5.5 million because they're not viewing Juan Soto's salary as problematic. Yeah, it might be 1 year, 30 million, but that's the most value you're going to get out of 30 million for any player salary in the entire league.
Yeah. Like Carlos Rodon's contract.
Yeah. They're going to need you to take like an additional 20 plus off the books. I think just for next year. So I'm thinking it's got to be a Waka / Lugo plus Carpenter, something else situation. I think just the Carpenter for $5.5 million is too light for as volatile and as weird the Padres are, making all of they're very hasty in their roster moves, their roster reconstruction, any of the other transactions that go with that. If you read the expose from The Athletic on AJ Preller, but AJ Preller historically has been a wheeler and dealer, crazy guy, fun. I like it. Would I want that to be the leader of my team? Maybe. I'd rather have it than Cashman, but this is a little bit chaotic. Nonetheless, with all that being said, he's incredibly smart. He's managed to trade for all of these players on this roster that were here this past season. He traded for Musgrove. He traded for Darvish. He traded for Soto, and he traded for what's his name? Hader, and he traded. There was one other one on here that I was just seeing. Damn it. Anyway, you could see that there are a number of blockbuster trades here. Oh, Blake Snell was the other one.
Yeah.
The amount of prospect capital that this man has surrendered and has still managed to keep them among the top however many farm systems in the league. I still think they're within the top half of the league, if I'm not mistaken.
He dipped to way down low at one point, I think right after the Soto trade, and replenished it and signed Ethan Salas, the best teenage catcher that anyone's ever seen. So there are other ways to replenish your farm system. You don't have to be Chaim Bloom, the shrewd, constantly moving, little pieces around on his abacus, finding some way to replenish the farm system. You could just sign the best international prospect. And so that's what AJ Preller did.
It's what he's been doing. He's been doing it for a very long time. So for as aggressive and maybe a little bit careless, it seems he might be, he's got a backup plan to always make do for any other deficiencies. So that's why I'm sitting here and I'm like, if he's trading Juan Soto, there is not a $5.5 million kicker here that's going to be like, all right, you take on Matt Carpenter's $5.5 million, Juan Soto's yours. No, there's going to be a lot of other contingencies attached to the deal, and it's going to cost a lot. So I would buy this as a potential thing the Yankees might have to do, but I wouldn't be like, oh, like this is the way out of getting Juan Soto for cheap or definitely getting Juan Soto. It's like you should maybe just accept that there's going to be some other financial burden attached to Juan Soto, whether it's Matt Carpenter, Jake Cronenworth, Michael Wacha, whoever.
In terms of who they're actually going to have to give up, though, I don't want to shot. It's not going to be Spencer Jones, and it's not going to be Jason Dominguez, and they're not going to ask about those people because they know they're not getting them.
Yeah.
Pereira, yes. Drew Thorpe, absolutely. Maybe Wells, Sweeney, Warren, but probably it's going to be like Pereira Thorpe or Pereira Chase Hampton, whoever they prefer. And if they prefer it, we don't know how they're scouting either. So maybe they prefer Warren. But it probably will be Pereira and an arm, maybe a second arm, and then people from the Florida Coast League. Henry Leland, Kiner Delgado, John Cruz. The Yankees have the most stacked Florida Coast League roster of 18-year-old prospects who've just come over for their first year of full season ball next year of anybody. People are saying it is the most stacked roster they've seen at that level in decades. The Padres love shopping from down. So does everybody. Everybody who's discounting the Yankees in trade conversations does not know how much teams love to plunder people who have not risen yet from the lowest ranks, whose ETAs are 2026, 2027. They are going to go wild on that roster. The Yankees have so many pieces down there who won't be making a big league impact for 3 years. The Yankees are perpetual contenders. They're not going to wait for Kiner Delgado or Roderick Arias if somebody wants to give them Juan Soto in exchange for Everson Pereira and 3 of those guys, no matter how much they're poised to break out over the next year or two. That FCL roster, don't be shocked at all if somebody comes and grabs 2 of them before this season, before those guys can go to Tampa and have all-star years in the Florida State League. And before everybody else's eyes can go, oh, now we get it. People are going to try to get those guys at their quote unquote lowest value before it's obvious to the rest of baseball that they are future stars in the making. So expect a Yankees pitching prospect, an Everson Pereira type, and probably 2 really low tier lottery tickets with huge potential grades on them.
I would agree. Gotta agree. And maybe we have somebody help us out with that.
Maybe we do. It's probably going to be somehow even worse, but go for
it. Kim Ng. I don't know if you guys saw this morning. The details came out. So now we have some clarity. Marlins made the playoffs for, the first time since 2020. For the first time before that, I don't know, but they looked like a bona fide playoff team. I know their run differential wasn't all that great, but they had a penchant for winning close games. I think they were well coached. They found, probably the next good manager and Skip Schumacher. I think Kim Ng and obviously Jeter before he left were instrumental in piecing all of that together. She had a team/mutual option for the 2024 season. The Marlins exercised the team option. She declined the mutual option, said that she talked with Bruce Sherman, who is is that the owner or the baseball ops?
That's the owner.
That's the new owner. That new owner, Jeffrey Loria. Remember him? That was a good guy.
Yeah. Jeter, somewhere in between.
Yeah. So it's clear that this ownership group is a bit problematic. If you've read about Kim Ng in the past, there is nothing but good things said about her. She worked in the Yankees front office as the assistant GM to Brian Cashman years back at the beginning of the dynasty. And she's bounced around baseball. This was the first, legitimate independent job of being attached to another executive that she had. And she had a conversation with Bruce Sherman, didn't agree with the outlook that he had for, I guess, the organization. And they had conflicting ideologies. So now she's on the market. Probably wouldn't be look, you're right. She's going to stumble into a better job. The Yankees are not going to elevate Brian Cashman into a fake, fancy role where he's
They totally could.
They could, but they're not gonna. It would be great if they just, they put his office 1 floor higher. Everybody had to walk up there to go talk to him, so he felt important. But then they walked right back downstairs, and they were like, "Fuck this guy. We're just gonna do everything that we thought was right, and he's wrong." Yeah. But yeah, it'd be great if Kim Ng was the GM, making the baseball operations decisions. She had an awesome trade deadline. You could argue that was maybe the best trade deadline of any team. It directly impacted the Marlins playoff hopes and, got them into the wild card round. No, they flamed out against the Phillies, but, that's a successful season for a team with that many obstacles in front of them from, their market and their ownership and whatever. But she's available. She could help us get Juan Soto. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're right. It could be a sick turn of events, and she could be with the Boston Red Sox. But let us live a little for now without that happening in our brains.
Just for now. Look, if you want to be the pessimist on Kim Ng, she built a team that was exactly good enough to do what they did. It took the Marlins being extremely lucky or prepared for 1-run games, but pretty lucky in 1-run games to get to the postseason by a game or 2 and then go to Philadelphia and get easily and summarily executed. Philly said, yeah, we're big and expensive and goodbye. Good Marlins team, really good Marlins season. but that is what she put together using the budgetary constraints that they gave her. So if you want to be pessimistic on Kim Ng because she goes to Boston, if you're trying to get your anti-Kim Ng arguments in order for when she goes to Boston, fine. But she got the two best bats that changed hands at the trade deadline. Josh Bell and Jake Berger were correctly identified as the not so expensive best potential offensive upgrades, and they worked. She got the batting champion this offseason, Luis Arraez. She signed Yuli Gurriel. She kept the pitching staff together. Like that, she turned what is obviously a very difficult environment to work in and made them a playoff team. They made the postseason. That is not easy. That is not normal in Miami. And then after this season, Bruce Sherman, apparently, according to reports, tried to hire a president of baseball ops over her after she did all that. She said, I disagree. I don't think that's a good idea. And then said, okay, great. Well, then here's a 1-year contract for you. And then she declined the disrespectful 1-year contract. That's why she walked. Don't blame her at all for walking. People are starting to tie her to the Mets now that Billy Epler is gone. I don't think that if she didn't want to have a president of baseball ops over her in Miami, why would she want to have a president of baseball ops over her in Flushing, Queens? I don't think that really makes sense.
Maybe she didn't trust who he was going to hire.
I think if they were to, if they were to keep Brian Cashman, they would be elevating him to something like president of baseball ops and including Kim Ng as GM. So you'd really have to fire Cashman if you wanted to bring her in. I would do that, but they're not going to. Boston, of course, Alex Cora and Kim Ng worked together when she was a Dodgers executive.
Oh, shit.
Boston's had trouble bringing in external people who don't trust the instability of the organization. Because why would you want to go work somewhere where you execute their plan and then get fired for executing their plan? Why would you want to work somewhere where you're Dave Dombrowski and you're a legend and your team goes 2 games over 500 instead of defending your World Series? Then they go, okay, great. That's enough of you. You've given us too many bad contracts. We're not giving you a chance at this, which is what they did in 2019. But if distrust of the front office is what you're worried about, she and Alex Cora know each other. They have a prior relationship. She knows how he works. Would seem to be a pretty obvious external candidate. Would also represent another example of Boston seemingly at a crossroads in their organization, striking out on all of these external possible hires and going, pick me, and people who are well-respected going, we don't want to, we don't like your organization. And then maybe the best, most proven one of all falling into their laps out of nowhere. So, I like Sam Fold of the Phillies. I like Brandon Gomes, the Dodgers. I would take Kim Ng over either of those guys. And she probably just became the front runner in Boston. But like you said, let us dream for a couple days. Former Yankee, not a former Red Sox, former Yankee. She's been here. She's been Brian Cashman's lieutenant before. Maybe, just maybe, if he's going to cede any of that, he would do it with someone he knows and trusts and he's already worked with. But probably it's just going to be no movement in the Yankees front office. They promote Nick Swisher to some position that they create, and then we move on.
What is he gonna be? President of Vibes operations?
Yeah, director of Vibes. Last postseason, he waved a flag in center field before game 1 of the DS, and now he is heavily involved in personnel decisions. So hopefully some egos were checked at that door at the Hal Steinbrenner door ego checking meeting, because we could really use it.
We get a full body scan for egos.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, you have too much fucking ego. Get out of here.
Yeah, I just received a call from security saying that somebody's ego was detected in this room. Did one of you guys not check? There was an ego check. Did you guys not? Stop. I'm going to have to go through one by one. I have to check for your egos.
Strip search, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, there, Randy Levine. I knew it. Obviously, your ego is still fully in your body. Oh, you got me.
Oh, it's good.
Ellen Betances is not a closer. What can I say? Guy's a better closer than Betances. He figured me out.
Speaking of who's making whatever personnel decisions this offseason,
well, stop talking about are you going to talk about the Yankees? Stop talking about them. What are you talking about?
What did that guy think he was like? Did he think he was trying to direct us into doing something we don't do on this podcast?
It's a good idea. I mean, a podcast about baseball is a fantastic idea, but this is specifically the Yanks Go Yard podcast.
Well, I have it's 2 incidents with players who are not on the Yankees, but their story's relevant, and it's 2 playoff teams. So how about that, buddy? We knew this already. It came up across my feed again because John Heyman was writing his 100-word columns with just these awesome blurbs that you only can find if you dig through. They're so short, but like they're hidden always. I don't know how it works like that, but that's how it does. He wrote in his most recent one after the Rangers had clinched the ALCS that Eovaldi wanted to join the Yankees this offseason. We knew that. I think what we're frustrated with is why didn't we just sign Eovaldi with Carlos Rodon?
Yeah.
Eovaldi costs 2 years, $34 million, $17 million
Prohibitively
a year.
expensive for sure. Very expensive.
Known postseason commodity. I know we did talk about this in the offseason. We I think unwaveringly said that this would not work for us just because it's a former Red Sox, just because we knew that we would be signing him for playoff success, and all of that escalating pressure would just result in bad results. But wouldn't it have been nice to have both of them? Maybe that could have been the other move when the Yankees saying they weren't done. It would have bought us, would have maybe not had so much trouble with the rotation. Could have, I don't know. He could have been another mentor for younger players. It could have been a true 1, 2, 3 gauntlet with those three. I think the Yankees just staked too much confidence in Luis Severino in his 19 start bounce back, which didn't convince me of anything. Not that I'm mad, not that I don't have any trust in Nestor Cortez, but like eclipse career highs in innings back-to-back years. It's like this team's constantly injured. You have to be baking this into the equation. And
that's
then
that's Clark Schmidt next year, by the way. Eclipse
of course
high in innings by like 60.
Yeah.
So
and then after you swapped out Montas for Montgomery, thinking Montas was an upgrade, even though he was injured, and then had Montas for 8 starts, and now Montgomery has flourished in 45 starts elsewhere, you had to make that second rotation move, I think. And now it hurts even worse because what reason does Nathan Eovaldi have to want to join the Yankees? The Yankees cut him when he needed Tommy John surgery back when he was on the team, and he was like kind of harnessing his stuff. Not really. He was very frustrating, but again, it speaks to the Yankees processes. And then secondly is that Bryce Harper appearance on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know if you guys saw that. One of the producers is a Yankees fan, and he had some funny words to say that I'm not going to repeat here, but he essentially asked Harper if there's any validity to Cashman not contacting him during free agency at all, and Harper just laughed and then talked about his fandom of the Yankees growing up and idolizing the dynasty teams, and Posada and Jeter and Bernie Williams are his favorite players, and you just were constantly wondering what could have been with that. With Kyle, someone like Kyle Schwarber too, who seemingly Yankees target forever and then just wasn't one day. I don't understand it. And it hurts even more that he says he can't picture himself anywhere but Philly. Thinks it's the perfect fit. Imagine if the perfect fit was the Bronx, how good that would feel, how the positive reaction from the fans would be, how less toxic the discourse would be. I don't know. It's all just upsetting.
And it was at one point the perfect fit. Like, Philly is home now, but
yes,
it was the Bronx for a long time, for most of his life, probably during his entire Nationals career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are trying to rewrite history a little bit and talk about how, hey, everybody is obviously focused on Bryce Harper this week because he's a generationally talented superstar who's on the verge of leading his Philadelphia Phillies team to the World Series 2 straight years. It's like, yeah, no kidding, we're all focused on that. But they're like, hey, at the time, though, remember Giancarlo Stanton's numbers in that walk year before he became a Yankee, before he was traded, were actually better than Harper's in his walk year with the Nationals when he struggled with injuries. When he only hit like 20 home runs, he didn't hit 57, wasn't the NL MVP. It's like, but I think anybody could have projected that Harper was going to age better than Stanton. And even so, you could just go ahead and get both. You can get both. You can get both. Because the Yankees had Aaron Hicks and Clint Frazier and Brett Gardner, and none of those people are currently outfielders for the New York Yankees. They tried Miguel Andujar out there. They didn't start last season with a left fielder. You can always use more outfielders. The Yankees haven't had a left fielder since 2019. The Yankees tried to send Brett Gardner into retirement and then couldn't do it because they're like, we actually don't have anybody better. You have to come back and hit 250 with a 320 OBP, and that's actually going to be superior to anybody else that we try. So, yeah, I'd rather have Stanton and Bryce Harper than Stanton and Billy McKinney. I don't know if that's a hot take, but that's how I feel.
I'd rather have Jake Bowers.
I'd rather have McKinney, Bowers, and Calhoun than Bryce Harper and Stanton. That's basically the tweet going around. That was, you see the just everybody.
No, what is it?
Everybody licking the boots of ownership these days. Some Reds guy had a tweet go viral that was like, Nick Castellanos put up 1.6 WAR and he cost $20 million. And Will Benson put up 1.6 WAR and he cost $700,000. Good job by the Reds. It's like, Nick Castellanos had 2 home runs in back-to-back NLDS games this year, though. And Will Benson is a completely irrelevant baseball player. So have you thought about that? Have you thought about how ownership actually paying for prime-time proven stars is occasionally a valuable concept, even if Will Benson's able to put up similar WAR in part-time duty during a completely anonymous regular season? You ever thought about that?
I also don't like, this is where analytics, like 1.6 WAR. The guy has 29 homers, 106 RBI on the season.
Yes.
And I know he was negative D-WAR, but his defense has been eye test-wise improving.
Made a diving catch that saved a World Series game last year.
Made a diving catch, made another diving catch. Look, I know the 2 diving catches are not going to define somebody, but he's made obvious strides. And is in the middle of a superstar lineup and has pulled the weight for this offense at times. I don't know how you could tell me that he is 1.6 wins better than the average player.
A replacement player. Jake Branchy Cordero.
Yeah, a Mike Talkman.
Will Benson had a good year, too. By the way. You know, if you were able to pay Nick Castellanos, you could actually have him and Will Benson.
Yeah, he could just, and then you would have maybe made the playoffs. That would have been cool.
You seem to be a player or 2 away from making the playoffs. What if you had Nick Castellanos? But again, just keep licking that owner boot. Keep circulating tweets applauding your owner for saving $18 million. I'm sure he'll give you a lollipop and potentially a season ticket holder pass next year. Maybe even a $5 discount on a tour of the Reds Museum. That might be nice. But you don't actually have to cape for value. You don't have to be like, isn't it smart that we have a roughly equivalent player by B-WAR for less money? Nope. Not really. You don't have to walk around saying that.
It is sick. I do remember thinking like that once upon a time, and I snapped out of it. It was like years ago when I first started writing about baseball. I was like, this is cool. You get in the weeds, you start doing some math, and then you realize you're just treating people as numbers, and it's like, this isn't right. This doesn't make sense.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's certainly a ruthless way to look at it, but it's just not really how World Series are dictated. It's how, it's how victory laps are taken on Twitter while one team that employs the more expensive man is running through the postseason. That's what Bryce Harper said. He said that's what the money's for or whatever. That's why you pay the big bucks, to get a bunch of superstars in to hopefully win a title. And they're all superstars who've bought in on the Philly ethos. Phillies are great. Yankees are bad. Reds are fine. I hope that was enough non-Yankees talk for the man who requested that we talk about Major League Baseball and not the Yankees. This is unfortunately going to get us another Apple Podcast review calling us smug. It just is.
Smug.
But if you want to undo that, if you want to leave one that says we're not smug and it's actually our God-given right on the Yanks Go Yard podcast to talk about the New York Yankees, then drop us an Apple Podcast review. We would love it. 5 stars would be great. Any less than that doesn't really help that much. So just make sure to leave it. If you want to criticize us in the writing, but still give us 5 stars, go for it. No big deal. If you haven't checked out the Jabba Chamberlain episode, please go ahead and do that now. I love talking to Thomas Carinante. I love when Bet365 finances me talking to Thomas Carinante. If I were you, I would listen to the one where both Thomas and I talk to Jabba Chamberlain over the ones where Jabba Chamberlain is not present. That's just my hot take. I would probably go to the Jabba episode first. So make sure to do that if you're listening to this one first. If you listen to Jabba and that's why you're here, thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on all your podcast platforms, of course, and on YouTube live Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time through the playoffs, winter meetings, offseason, and 2024 regular season. For now, I'm Adam Weinrib, and you can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib, Thomas Carinante. Where can the people find you?
Only for now?
Well, only for now will I be on Twitter. I guess maybe I'll stay there, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I am so sick of people. Twitter, X, whatever it's called. It's just
whatever
Twitter.
You're calling it these days.
Whatever. It's fucking Twitter, dude.
Always Twitter. That's why. That's how you fight back against it being renamed X.
Yeah,
because you keep calling it Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm on the website formerly known as Twitter, currently called X.
It's like in The Office when Andy tries to be called Drew, and everyone's like, sure. Yeah, and he just it never sticks. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna Andy Bernard, Elon Musk. Yeah. I'm at Tommy's _takes. Hit me up. take a look at the Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. We're both there posting articles, whatever you want. We're there to converse. Feel free to send us a DM, comment on the articles. Let's have a conversation. Appreciate you guys coming in on the stream yet again. Appreciate you guys reading. There's plenty more to come. It ain't slowing down. Offseason is in 3 weeks. I guess the Yankees changes per Hal are coming soonish because they're going to have to make those changes before they start making roster moves. So expect that. There's going to be a lot of conversation to be had. We're going to need you guys here with us to parse through it all. And we'll see you again on Thursday, live 2 p.m. Eastern, right here.
TikTok, Hal. We'll see everybody here on Thursday. Maybe Mr. Steinbrenner would like to join us to talk us through what he found during that all-important ego check. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday.